overlay community zone records in the network zone. This feature is relevant for consortia, right? For networks. The story is as follows. A member of the network can activate an electronic resource, an electronic portfolio, from the community zone. This resource is now marked as held by that institution, and this held by field is basically managed by the community zone. And both the network zone, the parent institution, and the institution zone, the child, both can see that it's held by the institution. Now, oftentimes what happens is the institution may not be pleased with the community zone record, and they may want to import their own bib record for this electronic resource. So in that case, rather than the bib data coming from the community zone, it'll come from the network zone. The new feature in the Alma October release is that the held by information, right? The information that indicates that this resource is held by our institution, by the child institution, is now managed by the network zone. What I will demonstrate now is how we take such an electronic resource with a bib record in the community zone and overlay it with a network zone record, and then we'll see that the held by information is still viewable. Let's start with the child institution and look at one of its resources. So I'm here in Eastern State University, which is a member of the main network. So we're in the child institution. And I'm interested in an electronic portfolio called Art Therapy. Let's see, 1 second, network zone. Titles. I'm looking in the network zone tab, and you can see that there is this electronic title called Art Therapy, and it's held by my institution. So this information comes from the community zone. How do I know this? Because if I look in the institution at Art Therapy, in my institution, I can see by the icon here that this is a community zone record. Now, let's say that I'm not particularly pleased with this record. For example, the community zone record is too brief. And I want to import my own new bib record from a mark.xml import file that has slightly updated information. So I've created a little example here. Notice that here it says print began with volume 1, number 1. So I've created a mark.xml file with the bib record here, art history import, and I've added a bit more information. Print began at volume 1, number 1, and continues uninterrupted until this day. So for this very valuable bit of information, I want to upload the bib record that's in this file. And what's going to happen is that the existing community zone record will be unlinked from the electronic portfolio, and the new record that I'm importing will be imported into the network zone, and that will be linked to our local institution, and the held by information shall be preserved as well. So let's just take one look before I begin the import. We saw in the child institution that Art Therapy is a community zone record. We saw in the network tab that it is held by my institution, Eastern Campus. And if we go to the Alma of the parent, and we'll search for all titles, Art Therapy. Okay, we can see a community zone icon. The bib record comes from the community zone and held by Eastern State. Let's now go into the child institution and import the mark.xml file that I showed you before, the amended XML file. So, Alma. configuration menu, import profiles. So add new profile, profile type repository. And here's what I wanted to show you. The first thing is use network zone. Okay, this means I'm importing the record into the network zone. And we're going to call this overlay CZ and NZ. I already have one by that name, so I'm going to call this one 2. And this information should be fine by default. And same here. And let's select our preferred match method. Here is the important section. Upon match, first of all, we want to overlay, right? There will be a match because we're importing a record that has a match in the community zone. And very importantly, unlink bibliographic records from community zone. Right? We want the electronic profile to be referenced by the network zone record, not the community zone record. So we'll go ahead and check that. No, we do not want to disregard matches. And we have entered all the important information. Next. Nothing to edit here as well. Next. And save. We've created an import profile. Let's import the new record. So actions, run import, art history import, add, and submit. Import job submitted successfully, and now our job is running. We'll give it a refresh. There we go. Files processed. Actions report. Let's see. Total records processed 1. Great. Total records imported into network zone 1. Great. Matches found 1. Fantastic. Okay, remember there was a match with the community zone record. Bibliographic records imported. So we have 1 record imported and 1 record unlinked from the community zone. 1 overlaid. And so we have successfully run the import. We can search again for art therapy and see what has changed. Okay, so art therapy, let's go into network. And electronic titles. There's one thing I want to make sure. Sometimes the update does not happen automatically. There's a job that runs in the background that makes sure that it's updated. But in this case, I believe it is updated. Let's see, we have art therapy held by my institution. So the held by information is still here. And if we look in the institution tab again, great. We see that this is no longer a community zone record. It is now a network zone record. I can see that by this icon here. We can see the new bib information, right? Volume 1 continues uninterrupted until this day. This was the change in the new record. So we can see that our electronic portfolio now gets the bib information not from the community zone, but rather from the network zone. And we've seen in the network tab that the held by information still says my institution. And if we go into the ALMA of the network zone, which is here, and we refresh this, we can now see that art therapy no longer has the community zone icon and held by Eastern State. The held by information is still here, and the bib record reflects our change. So that is how you overlay a community zone record in the network zone.